David, it's a pleasure having you on the program. We'll get to your upbringing and career a little bit later on, but let's start with the current business environment. You've been involved in business for many decades. What's your reading on the strength of the economy at the moment?
Well, we're going through a very tough time. That goes without saying. The whole world is going through a tough time. I'm no economist, so bear that in mind, please, Rob. But my view would be that Australia is coming through the COVID crisis in a probably stronger position as anywhere else in the world. I think there's a lot of sectors that are doing very well as a result of what we've gone through the last 12 months. But clearly there's a lot of sectors that are doing it tough. You wouldn't want to be involved in a university with the gap of overseas students unable to come in. You wouldn't want to be in the hospitality industry. You wouldn't want to be in the tourism industry. You wouldn't want to be in the airline industry or the cruise line industry. Like with the bad, there's always some good and there's people in between. And there's a lot of people doing it tough. I applaud the government's policies and the JobKeeper in particular. I think it grates all of us that there are a lot of people that are just taking JobKeeper and don't want to go and work. And so at a couple of functions earlier this week, heard from business people cannot find people to do the job. They're going along to Centrelink, they're going along to recruitment agencies. People don't want to go and pick fruit. A lot of youngsters don't want to go and bend their back to earn a buck. They can stay home and earn JobKeeper. So hopefully within a few weeks that's going to come to an end, and then hopefully they'll be able to go and be forced to get a meaningful job. So the Australian economy, I'd say, has been very resilient with those variances between sector to sector. I think it's going to be volatile. Obviously the market is holding up, I think, because there's nowhere else to put your money at the moment. So people are looking to buy Australian equities, and so our market's held up very well. And I think we're coming through this under control. The Commonwealth Bank results yesterday were positive. Lifting the dividend was a confidence boost. And I think the last thing is, from what I gathered, both the consumer and the business confidence is at a 7-year high. So that says something about people's attitude, the way they're looking at the future, notwithstanding the tough situation we're all going through.
And on a macro level, what do you see are the biggest challenges facing Australia over the medium to long term, and how should businesses be adjusting their strategy?
You're forcing me to become almost a politician here to think about, well, I'd be worried about China. I'm concerned about China as a macro huge issue. Even the thought of them building a $20 billion city in Papua New Guinea just on our doorstep is not exactly what we'd like to happen, I don't think. But the trade issues with China, and yet Australians are showing they're very innovative and moving away from China to other markets. I heard today some people are selling wine into Kazakhstan and Kabakistan. Good luck to them. But that's what you've got to do. When one door closes, another one opens, and that's an opportunity for entrepreneurship and not just accepting the status quo. I think we've got an immigration issue too. I think we've got a large country. We've built up a lot of services. And we've got 25 million people, but where's the population growth going to come from? And so I think immigration and the debate about immigration, is a huge issue. We need people to cause demand, and when there's no demand, there's no supply, and everyone's worth it off. So I think China, immigration, what are the next big projects? I mean, Australia, we keep on talking about the Snowy River, but that's even before my time. And yet that's not going to be the biggest problem solver, I wouldn't think. But it's a very difficult question to answer from someone coming from where I sit at the moment, Rob.
You're a noted investor in business opportunities, equities and property via your family business Generation Investments. Take us through the types of opportunities you're either investing in now or have invested in over the past, say, 5 to 10 years.
Well, there's been a variety of them. Generation, which is my family business from my 3 sons. We've looked at all things A through Z. We ended up investing in some specialised technology organisations because we don't understand technology, and so we decided after a couple of wins and a few losses, right, of trying to pick winners, that was not the way to go. So we've been investors in a couple of technology specialist companies, so we've given them the responsibility of managing our money into that sector, and that's been paid off. There's been a number of direct investments in a range of different businesses, Rob, but I think mostly important, we more back the person than the business. So the business might be a great business, but if we don't like or don't see eye to eye with the owners, operators of those businesses, we generally defer and would rather back the person than the business.
And in your role at Point Made, what type of advice have you provided your clients over the past 12 months, given the challenges that Australia and the world's faced? And how has this advice differed significantly, to previous years?
Oh, I think it's been strengthened by the fact that the world has changed. And don't think you can just go back to doing the normal thing that you've done previously. You might have had a great business, but COVID has come and hit, and it's changed the way we do business. The whole issue about whether we're going to work in the office anymore or stay at home, huge issues now. And at first I think we all joked about it. Oh, of course you'll come back in the office. But there are people, I know some of my family clients, where they've got some serious issues because the people don't want to come back in the office, and they're happy being on Zoom while they walk their dog. And that's being very effective and efficient. And so some of those issues force us to think, what business are we in? The world has changed. Is that business going to be the business that I really want to stay in for the next 5 or 10 years? What else should I be doing with my money? How can I minimise my risk portfolio? So I think it's a question of bringing some urgency to the table and not just thinking to everyone, well, the COVID's going to be away, it's all going to be finalised in a year or two, we don't have to worry. I think part of our attitude at Point Made to our clients is, don't have that attitude. You've got to be a bit more aggressive about looking at where you are and where you want to head as a result of COVID. Now is the time to experiment a little bit. Take some risk factor in a small way. Don't bet the whole farm, but now's the time to maybe do things in tune with what's happening in the global economy that you may not have been able or didn't want to do previously. So experiment with something else is another attitude we've been pushing.